I never imagined that the quiet morning I woke up to would be the beginning of the most chaotic chapter of my life. The email from Ashley's lawyer arrived at 7:12 a.m., demanding the house, the car, and monthly alimony as if our marriage had been nothing more than a transaction. She claimed she had been unemployed for 2 years, struggling, barely surviving, and that I had somehow abandoned her. But by noon that same day, everything flipped. While trying to make sense of her accusations, I stumbled onto a TikTok account that looked strangely familiar. A few clicks later, I found her Twitter, then her OnlyFans, each filled with posts showing massive monthly income, luxury trips, and late-night live streams she had been hiding from me the entire time. In that moment, the marriage I thought I understood shattered, and the truth revealed something far darker than a simple divorce. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling, unable to process how Ashley had turned our divorce into a battlefield before I even had time to breathe. By the time the sun came up, I still had no answers, only a growing uneasiness that something about her story didn't add up. If she had really been unemployed for 2 years, where did the constant shopping bags come from? How could she afford weekly spa visits, new phones, and surprise vacations with her friends? I had always assumed she was dipping into her savings, but now that lie gnawed at me like a loose thread begging to be pulled. The morning after discovering Ashley's hidden accounts, I met with my attorney, Daniel, a calm and methodical man who rarely reacted to anything. But when I showed him the screenshots, the videos, and the income statements she had publicly bragged about online, he lifted his glasses and let out a low whistle. He told me this wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was a case of financial deception, possible tax evasion, and intentional misrepresentation to the court. His first instruction was simple: request her tax returns, bank statements, and all income-related documents from the last 2 years. He said that if she truly filed as unemployed, she was setting herself up for the worst kind of trouble. The situation exploded faster than I ever expected, and it all started with a single TikTok Ashley posted late at night. In the video, she claimed she was terrified because I was supposedly stalking her. She said she couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't leave the house without fearing I would show up out of nowhere. Every sentence was dripping with theatrics. She even added dramatic background music to make herself look like the wounded heroine in a soap opera. What she didn't mention was that we had a court-ordered no-contact agreement, and I hadn't spoken to her in weeks. The day of the hearing arrived with a tension so heavy it felt like the air itself was vibrating. I walked into the courtroom with Daniel beside me, carrying a binder so thick it looked like it had swallowed a library. Ashley sat across the room with her attorney, dressed in soft pastels, trying to look fragile and innocent. Her mother sat behind her, arms crossed, glaring at me like she was preparing for battle. Ashley avoided eye contact, but her posture screamed confidence, as if she believed her online fan base could magically sway the judge. When the session began, Ashley's attorney launched into a dramatic speech about her being unemployed, emotionally drained, and financially dependent. He spoke of her unbearable stress and desperate situation, painting her as someone barely holding her life together. She dabbed her eyes with a tissue on cue, even though no tears appeared. For a moment, it looked like she might get away with it. Then Daniel stood up. He didn't raise his voice or act theatrical. He simply opened the binder and began laying out evidence one piece at a time. The judge leaned forward as Daniel played Ashley's TikTok videos on the courtroom monitor. Clips of her dancing in designer outfits. Clips of her boasting about 20K months. Clips where she literally joked about being technically unemployed. Each video hit harder than the last. The room shifted. Ashley's confident posture collapsed inch by inch. Her attorney tried to object, but the judge shut him down, reminding him that Ashley had posted all of this publicly. Then came the Twitter posts. Tweets bragging about fans paying for her trips. Screenshots of her replying to followers about making bank. a thread where she joked about not needing a regular job because her boys online covered her bills. By the time Daniel opened the OnlyFans earnings report, the courtroom was dead silent. Months of deposits, thousands upon thousands of dollars, clear records, public numbers she had never disclosed in the divorce filings. The judge turned to Ashley with an expression that could have frozen lava. He asked her directly why she had claimed to be unemployed. She stuttered, twisting her tissue, blaming miscommunication, mental pressure, and not understanding the paperwork. The judge didn't buy a word of it. Then Daniel introduced the GoFundMe page. He showed the caption, where she claimed she had no income since 2022. He scrolled through the donations. Then he displayed the comments from people demanding refunds after learning the truth. Ashley's mother gasped loudly, calling it a misunderstanding, but the judge warned her to remain silent or be removed. Everything unraveled for Ashley in real time. Her lies weren't just exposed. They were magnified, undeniable, and neatly organized for the court to see. Her attorney looked defeated, flipping aimlessly through his papers, clearly unprepared for evidence this overwhelming. When the judge finally spoke, his voice was stern and final. He emphasized the seriousness of misrepresenting income. He noted the deliberate deceit shown across multiple platforms. He pointed out that Ashley had violated the no-contact order with her defamatory TikToks. He reminded her that the court takes financial fraud extremely seriously. Ashley stared at the table, shoulders trembling, not with tears, but with the realization that everything she had built online had turned into the very weapon that destroyed her case. And for the first time since the divorce began, I saw the truth settle in her eyes. Her performance was over. Reality had arrived, and it wasn't leaving room for an encore. The judge took a long moment before delivering his decision, and the silence in the courtroom felt like a pressure chamber. Ashley sat hunched over, gripping her tissue with both hands as if it could shield her from what was coming. But nothing could. The judge began by stating plainly that her claims of unemployment were not only false, but intentionally misleading. He emphasized the contrast between her sworn statements and the mountain of evidence showing her steady and substantial income from online platforms. He announced that her request for alimony was denied. Her request for the house was denied. Her request for the car was denied. She would receive no portion of my assets because she had not been truthful about her own. Ashley's attorney tried to protest, claiming she had been confused and overwhelmed, but the judge shut him down immediately. He said the court had no tolerance for deceit. Then came the part that made Ashley's face drain of color. The judge said the case would be forwarded to the district attorney for review of potential financial fraud and misrepresentation. He added that due to the evidence of significant undisclosed income, the IRS would likely be notified as well. Ashley's mother gasped loudly and slapped her hand over her mouth. Ashley froze completely, as if she had stopped breathing. When the hearing ended, Ashley didn't move for nearly a minute. Her attorney leaned toward her, whispering urgently, but she stared straight ahead with wide, stunned eyes. The confidence she flaunted online was gone. The victim act evaporated. What remained was someone realizing her lies had spiraled far beyond her control. Over the next few weeks, consequences began crashing down around her. I heard from Daniel that the IRS had opened an inquiry into her OnlyFans income. Because she had claimed unemployment while making thousands each month, they froze several of her accounts pending review. Her banking records revealed transfers that didn't match the lifestyle she had claimed in court. She was asked to provide tax returns she never filed. GoFundMe contacted her as well. Dozens of people reported her campaign as fraudulent. She was forced to return the donations, and the page was removed entirely. Her attorney formally withdrew from representing her, citing irreconcilable differences. Word spread quickly through her online community. Some of her followers defended her at first, but even they turned away when the truth became impossible to deny. Her OnlyFans subscriber count plummeted. Her sponsorships vanished. Companies did not want to associate with someone facing a federal investigation. Even her new boyfriend, the one she had hinted about online, disappeared from her social media. People speculated he had left after learning the truth. Whether or not that was accurate didn't matter. The silence on her end spoke loud enough. Meanwhile, my life slowly returned to something resembling normal. I wasn't celebrating her downfall. I was simply relieved the nightmare was ending. But it was impossible not to notice the stark contrast between where I stood and where she was headed. Ashley had spent years building a persona based on attention, manipulation, and selective truth. But the law didn't care about aesthetics or followers. And now every lie she'd woven had finally unraveled, leaving her to face the consequences she never thought would reach her. Ashley's online presence began collapsing almost immediately after the court ruling, and the destruction was far more dramatic than anything she had ever posted. The first sign was her sudden attempt to rebrand herself through a long, tearful podcast interview. She claimed she had been misunderstood, manipulated, and pushed into a corner by people who didn't know the real story. She tried to blame stress, trauma, and even suggested she had been exploited by her own fans. But the internet wasn't buying it anymore. Clips from her podcast were stitched by creators who pulled up her own videos side by side, showing contradictions she couldn't talk her way out of. In the end, everything unraveled with a clarity I never expected. The lawyers finalized the documents, the financial records were submitted, and every lie Ashley tried to build collapsed under its own weight. There was no dramatic confrontation, no last-minute apology, no revelation that changed anything. Just silence, paperwork, and the cold reality of who she truly was. I walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter, not because I had won anything, but because I had finally stopped carrying the version of her I had created in my mind. The truth was harsh, humiliating, and exhausting, yet it freed me in ways I didn't realize I needed. As I drove home, the sun was setting, casting long shadows on the road, and for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid of what came next. The chaos was over, and the future, uncertain as it was, finally belonged to me again.